Hi, McCartney fans, and welcome to the Zoo Gang edition of Two Legs, a Paul McCartney podcast. We are a Paul McCartney talk show mainly dealing with the solo career of Paul McCartney. I'm one of your two co-hosts today. My name is Tom Hunyadi. You may know me from my other show, Talk More Talk, where me and my three co-hosts, well, actually four co-hosts now because we're switching over to Zoom, and one Mr. Kenneth Womack is going to be coming back on a regular basis. So it's going to be myself, four other co-hosts, and all we do is talk about solo Beatles work. And I am joined by my partner in crime, my backwards traveler, my buddy, Mr. Andy Nichols. Andy, what's going on?
Not much, man. Living the dream.
Living the dream. Good. I like the shirt.
Thank you. Yeah. Crowded house today. It was good.
Yes. Like I said, it's the Zoo Gang is here, and we're gonna get a little crazy. It looks like, and as you see, I got three other people here. One you may know from the past, but you haven't seen him before. I know for some reason he got a wild hair on his ass and decided he wanted to go on video. And he's my cousin and my co-creator of the Two Legs show, David Gargalino. David, what's going on?
Tom, 1 year later, and you get to see my face after 4 years of you wanting me to do this. The ex-girlfriend that came back, and now you see the face. So
yeah. So thanks for being here.
Thank you for the invite, guys.
Yeah, sure. We also are joined by our friendly rival, I guess, if you want to say. He is Sam Wiles. He is the host of the Paul McCartney show called Paul or Nothing. And Sam, what's going on?
Hey, Tom. Hey, guys. Thank you all for having me back on. Great to be back on Two Legs, of course. I mean, the last time we spoke, we were literally living in a different world. So might sound a bit trite. I'm just thankful that we and all of your listeners are still here and we can do the good work, which is talk about Paul McCartney. And I've had a lot of fun choosing my three songs. And I'm interested to see if this is going to be like off the ground where all the wider community agrees on the bonus material.
I hope so, because after I introduce our next guest, we'll talk about today's topic here. And, he is, wipe that smile off your face. Don't you be smiling. I was kidding. Anyways, no, listen, I'm really, there you go. I'm really excited to have our friend Dylan Sevey back on the show. As you all know, Dylan did the great music that starts and ends our show. And it's always a thrill to have this wonderful person on the show. And I'm glad to call him a friend. And Dylan, welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Tom. Hey, Andy. Hey, Dave. Hey, Sam. Really happy to be on here. And I actually have a really quick prepared statement that I'd like to read if that's okay with you. So without further ado, this is pretty important. Here. On April 17th, 2020, I was asked by Tom Hunyadi of the Two Legs podcast to create a comprehensive list of every studio contribution by Paul McCartney outside of his own personal releases from the years 2000 through 2019. Mr. Hunyadi would then utilize this information for an episode of Two Legs wherein he, co-host Andy Nichols, and famed Beatles radio and podcast host Ken Michaels discuss their favorite contributions by Mr. McCartney for other artists and or projects. I agreed to help Mr. Hunyadi and ultimately created a list of 43 appearances by Mr. McCartney. During the episode, which was published on June 1st, 2020, Mr. Michaels and Mr. Hunyadi noted the absence on my list of 2 recorded appearances by Mr. McCartney that were released within the time frame that Mr. Hunyadi had specified in his original text message. Upon further research, I was able to personally confirm that I had, in fact, neglected to include these songs on the list I had procured. I want to make it abundantly clear that I took my assignment very seriously. I spent multiple hours and employed several resources and cross-references to ensure the legitimacy of my work. At no point did I take my task lightly or make any attempts to self-sabotage it. However, I take full responsibility for the oversights that ultimately called the acceptability of my work into question. To quote the great Bruce Springsteen, my best was never good enough. I would like to extend my sincere apologies to Mr. Hunyadi, Mr. Nichols, Mr. Michaels, the entire viewer and listenership of the Two Legs podcast, and most importantly to Mr. McCartney for undermining the extent of his work. I will take whatever steps must be taken to right this wrong, accept full accountability, and pledge to do everything in my power not to repeat the same mistakes if called upon for a similar duty in the future.
Which you have been.
Damn.
Okay, what a way to start the show.
I mean, look, you don't get this kind of content on other podcasts. No offense, Sam.
Well, on your defense,
Yeah.
it is really easy to forget "Love Song to the Earth." Okay.
Well, I mean, I'm not trying to make excuses, so
Oh,
that
whatever.
that was from here. That was from here.
Bravo, Dylan. Way to own up.
Cool. Well, it was good to see you guys, and good luck.
Oh, wow.
Well,
Okay.
this is what happens when you let other people do your podcast work for you. So
Yes. I learned that the hard way. I had to learn that the hard way, Sam. So, thank you.
Hey, wait a minute.
But I think he did make up for it because I did ask him to give me the list of McCartney McManus songs for a future episode, and I think he passed the test on that one. So thank you.
I hope so. Hoping to make the grade.
Okay, so now that we got that out of the way, today's main topic is we are going to take the regular version of Egypt Station. Not this one. This is the Target edition. This is the one that has Get Started and Nothing for Free on it. But there's a lot of copies out there with just the regular album that ends with the medley. So what we decided to do is we're going to take 3 songs off of that version of Egypt Station, and we're going to add 3 songs from the 7 bonus features that that Paul gave us over the course of a year and a half. Those songs being Get Started, Nothing for Free, Frank Sinatra's Party, 62nd Street, Get Enough, Home Alone, and In a Hurry. So those 7 songs, or is that 6 songs? 7 songs, yeah. So we're gonna choose from those 7 and then add them to Egypt Station and make our own version of Egypt Station. But before we get to that, we're gonna talk about the recent announcement for the Flaming Pie archive box sets, which is the 13th installment of this series that's been going on since 2010. So this is what I guess we can say this is the 11th year in the workings of this great series, which started off with a bang. I mean, we were getting stuff every year, but then I think we had an 18-month layoff, David, before
we got anything in
before
2016 and
2016
18
didn't have anything.
and 19.
Right. Yeah. So things now looks like they're slowing down a little bit. We got Flowers in the Dirt, and then a year and a half later, then we ended up getting Wildlife and Red Rose Speedway. Nothing last year, and now we've got Flamin' Pie coming, and which is fine. I know a lot of people out there wanted London Town and Back to the Egg first, just to get that wing stuff out of the way. But there's never been any rhyme or reason on these releases. It's never been, stated that it's going to be released in any particular order. So Flamin' Pie is a great album, and I'm glad that this one's coming out. But let's see here. Is it one of the albums that you go to, Andy? Is one of your favorite picks, album-wise?
Absolutely. Probably a top 5 album, if not top 10. Right. Seminal. It's for me. It's the beginning of the Renaissance period, really, for all his great later work.
Right.
It came out when I was in high school, so it was all the anthology stuff. So it was pretty important for me at that time. So yeah, this is going to be a great one. I mean, they've all been great, obviously, but this one will just be another great one to just dive into in all the various formats that we're getting it in.
Right. Dylan, are you a fan of Flaming Pie?
Yeah, I've got a pretty sentimental attachment to it. When I was first getting into the Beatles, when I was about 8 years old, my uncle when he found out that I was getting into them, sent me some CDs through the mail, and Flaming Pie was among those. So that was actually the first solo McCartney record that I ever listened to. So
Okay.
yeah, I got a pretty good attachment to it there.
Mm.
I mean, I know some people who might put it in the overrated catalog, which I'm not one of those people, but I can't think of a single person who dislikes it. I mean, I think it's one of his pretty consistently revered albums, and rightfully so. Yeah, I'm really hearing the Young Boy remix got me pretty hopeful, because I thought it was a really good sounding record to begin with, so I was a little skeptical about what they could do, but after hearing that remaster, I'm really excited to hear the whole set.
Cool. David, what's your thoughts on Flaming Pie?
Yeah, that's why I asked to join the show today. I mean, I was hoping along the way it would have been in that period of 2016 to 19 I was with you, but it's my Plymouth Rock. It was my first discovery. Well, I discovered my dad's McCartney album LP, but this is the first one I actually bought. Came out a few days before my 13th birthday, and I got a Blockbuster Music. Let me kind of age myself. If that was a thing, I bought it there. I think I had my dad get me the Ubu Jubu freebie at Best Buy, I think earlier in that month in May of 97.
Equalology.
Yeah. So I kind of discovered a little bit more gems like Wildlife in there. The album, coming off the anthology, that's kind of my focus, my first foray into the anthology series, discovering the Beatles, and then the McCartney. Town Hall was actually that. I loved VH1 back in 95 to 97 period. John Fugelsang with Paul McCartney. I mean, the whole month was like, I think McCartney week they had in May of 97. So as a 13-year-old, this is like the greatest thing for me to coming off the anthology to continue into the solo Paul McCartney. Love the album. I think I burnt myself out on it, but I loved it. I still love it. So I've actually, it's been probably a decade or so since I've really dived deep into it. But yeah, this set is going to bring me back into it, the nostalgia memory of it all.
Right.
To see Ringo involved with, and Jeff Lynne and Steve Miller and Linda's, final album with them. So on multiple levels, this was impactful in my life and in his career and his resurgence. And yeah, I'm glad it finally is coming out.
Cool. Now, Sam, correct me if I'm wrong. Now, while you're doing your show, you're discovering these albums as you go along, because you're going chronological order. So I don't know if you have listened to Flaming Pie yet or not. What say you? Is this one a release that you're looking forward to? I know you were pretty vocal about it on Twitter the other day. So what are your thoughts on the release?
Right. For the sake of transparency, guys, I'm going to confess, I don't have a dog in this race. As Tom just mentioned, my podcast is mostly chronological. I'm completionist. I haven't got around to Flaming Pie on my show yet. I only know the title track and Some Days. Those are two great songs. I quite like the album just based on those two so far. And I'm just happy to sit back and wait for the majority to come out on Spotify for free, like a classic millennial, blah, blah, blah. However, there's always going to be something missing in that package. It's been 2 years. Why haven't I got Wings Over Europe for free on Spotify yet? Come on, pull your fingers out, McCartney. And I'm not a millionaire like Mr. Tom Hunyadi with his Traveler's Edition, his collector's editions, and everything he can purchase in his limitless pockets. Me, however, I'm looking at £520 UK. That's more than we're getting a month from the government to survive during lockdown. So for a month, you're going to have to choose whether you want to eat or listen to Ubu Jubu. Come on, no, I'm going to make this point. Before I carry on. You've mentioned that there's not much precedent for this to come out now, and there is. It's the 25th anniversary of the anthology, and that's why this is coming out now. and they're essentially doing it in quite poor taste, in my opinion. This is one of the greatest financial downturns the world's seen in quite a while. And I think to release something for £520 UK is, it's just not very nice, is it? Come on, guys.
But for the 2 CD, they are giving you a good amount.
Yeah, they're giving you good bang for your buck on the 2 CD.
What's a CD?
Yeah. Sorry.
If it's okay for me to jump in, just to sort of piggyback off of where Sam was going, you know, he said it's 520 bucks over there. It's the deluxe edition over here is going to be $600, and you know, I don't think you know, 250 for the collector's edition isn't terrible given how much is in that. But given where the world is at right now, both financially and mentally, the $600 seems pretty tone deaf. You know, it kind of, it paints Paul as, you know, another aging rock star who's desperate for a money grab, and I don't think that's his personal intention. But that is the message that it kind of sends, and these sorts of things are exactly why a lot of people in the younger generation, millennials like Sam and I, you know, gravitate towards streaming. But for me as a musician, the knowing how broken the streaming system is, you know, among other systems that are broken right now, you know, I really roll my eyes with these sorts of things, because I don't think any of us want to see physical media become a thing of the past, and I don't believe that it will necessarily, but when you put out these sorts of messages, again, whether that's the intention or not, I know that's not helping, and certainly there's people out there who have $600 lying around and it won't affect them whatsoever to drop this on that sort of project, but there's a lot more people who will spend that money because they're collectors, and they're going to have to really think about the financial implications of buying it, and I don't think that this is a good job of reading the room right now, which is unfortunate, because Paul's team, or whoever's in charge of, you know, they've done a solid job of responding to the pandemic and showing support for the social issues right now, but this seems kind of contradictory to that, especially to longtime fans, maybe like one on this podcast who has shelled out a lot already for him with collector's editions and suitcases.
Can I mention that I think the set's been in preparation for the last year or two, and I think the original release was supposed to be maybe this past January. It might have gotten delayed, then the whole COVID hit. I get the Uber collector is for the true collector. Nothing in that set other than an etched vinyl and some Lennon McCartney portraits is exclusive, because the big barn box in 2018 did have true exclusiveness, and it was $399, but it was only $75 to $100 more than if you added the MSRP of the two box sets together. So I was like, I laughed, and that's $600 I don't have to spend, and I was thankful, because there wasn't much. You add the vinyls into it, and you really increase the price and all ephemera. Yeah. But in terms of the audio, you could get the majority of it in the 2 CD or the deluxe edition. I understand why it's $250 on Amazon right now and not $150 like it was for Flowers in the Dirt. I just think physical media, in terms of mass production, is in a much smaller production these days. So, and I think and they alluded that to one of the interviews on Super Deluxe Edition, that, you know, we don't know how further along that we could continue this. And I think those editions we got on Concord, like Tug of War and all that, when you could probably get a good deal about $50 or $60, now it's close to $200. There's a lot in this box set, but I think it costs a lot of money from the production side. But
right, and that's why I don't blame. I mean, that's why I don't necessarily think you can blame McCartney for the price of this set. Yeah, it is this, like you guys said, is this a good time to release something like this? Probably not. Is the price tag, acceptable? I mean, I don't know, but
it's
a couple things though.
Yeah, it's a very niche market. It's a very niche market,
right.
So it's going to cater to a very small percentage of people that will buy it, and there's going to be some people that can't, sadly, because of their own personal things that are going on, which sucks. Which they would have bought it, but I think the show has to roll on, and this is like David mentioned, this has already been in the production pipeline. So, COVID aside, they're gonna just roll with it. I mean, I won't be buying it because I don't need it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not. Yeah, I don't think that what David said, like the etched vinyl and in the photographs, I don't think that warrants another $250.
No,
not at all.
You know what I mean? So I won't be getting that version as either. However, yes.
Don't lie, Tom. Don't lie.
At the moment, I won't be getting it. But I was reading that it looks like it's no. At the moment, I think I did read this morning that it looks like it's almost sold out already.
Tom, if it was $3.99 like the Egyptian box set and the big barn box, would you have got it? I guess if it was like $3.99 instead of $600, would that swayed your? Or do you need such?
If it was $3.99, I would consider it because for a couple of reasons. Well, for one reason, the company, a firm that is affiliated with the McCartney website, if you qualify, you can make payments on it, which is the only reason why I was able to do the suitcase to begin with was because I could, make payments. I'm not going to dish out $400 all at once for the suitcase. It was just because of the fact that I can make payments on it. So there's that. Also, the regular box set that's $259 on Amazon right now. That's not going anywhere. Now that he's back with Capitol, I don't see that set going out of print anytime soon. So if you're in a position where you can't afford it right now, which you should not be, which is understandable, it's still going to be there for when times for when times do get better for that individual. So there's also that. But the price wise, should he make a little bit more stand? Dylan, you're a Petty fan. Remember that 4-hour Tom Petty and the Heartbreaker documentary?
Oh yeah.
Who did Tom Petty sue? Who did we learn that he sued during the documentary?
Well, he sued. It was the record company,
right? And why did he sue them?
Well, are you talking about the dollar difference?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, he didn't. That wasn't the lawsuit. That was when they wanted to rename, or they wanted to price his Hard Promises record the Superstar pricing, which was $9.98 rather than the normal $8.98, and so he threatened to rename the title of the record $8.98. So,
but it just goes to show you that it's really not the artist that controls the pricing. It was the point that I'm trying to make on that, though.
Yeah, and I know that I was just kind of on my soapbox there, and Sam was making a point there, and I want to make it like Paul's not making these decisions himself. I mean, I know that, but I do think that could be a much better job by his team because everything you guys are saying makes the show does need to go on, and there are people that are going to be buying it, but I don't know. I guess for me personally, both as a music consumer and as a musician who partly makes his living due to people buying merchandise, for me, I need to think about, and the bands I play with need to think about the entirety of the people that are going to be purchasing our product. And I feel, and Andy, you're absolutely right. I mean, it is a niche market, and I'm not assuming that Joe schmo on the street is gonna, be buying the super collect. But even for that, even for the super collector, someone like Tom, I mean, Tom, that's a pretty big stand for you on this show to say that you're not going to be buying the $600, and I don't think anyone can blame you, because it's too much. And I know it's been in the pipeline for a while, but I think it would be a pretty easy fix to say, hey, why don't we bump this down to 400, 450,
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm hearing the same team that's pricing out the Beatles 50th anniversary box sets are the same team that are pricing out these sets. So
that's good news.
Well, yeah, it depends how you look at it. And then, so that you kind of think, well, if it's the same team doing that, would have let it be box set be out this year based on the financial and hardship of the world at the moment. And then maybe we'll get into the criticisms of the archive box sets in general later, but it's 2020, and I think a lot of people moving on to streaming from physical disc, but I think 5.1 and Blu-ray are kind of been missing from this series since it started in 2010. So that would add a little bit more value to the current, super deluxe edition at the moment. But
Right, and then just to get away from that, you mentioned the Get Back, Let It Be set. We do have a word now that they are going to be delaying the theatrical version of that to August of 2021. So then I guess that only would make sense then, I think, to delay the box set as well. I think if you release that box set on when on the original date, like they were scheduling it to, it kind of, I think the interest to see it in theaters kind of dwindles a little bit. So I would think that they would delay that set as well, just to keep the interest high, because obviously it's Disney, they want to make as much money off of this as possible. So just delay all of it, because the book, I think, is still scheduled to come out in September. I haven't seen a delay I haven't gotten an email for that being delayed yet. So we'll see. So yeah, it is really interesting about who, decides what these sets cost. Do they determine, how much it takes to put it all together, and then they mark it up 300%, or whatever, and go that way. So, it's definitely something that would make somebody, it would make a good guest for somebody that's in the know to come on, a show like this and talk about, how that whole process works. But yeah, I mean, but it's like we all said, I mean, it's a top 5 album in his canon, or at least I think that's what the majority of McCartney fans think.
Is it?
Yes, it is. It is.
I mean, look, I've heard, this is just what I've heard on the grapevine, that it's one of those albums that may have had unnecessary praise due to all the furore around the anthology series, and that is what I'm going to be looking into when I eventually cover it.
Right. No, and it's I've heard that talk too, but I think myself that it's aged well. I know some people out there don't like that phrase, but when you listen to it these days, I think it sounds just as good as it did in '97 when I first picked it up and played it. I think it plays well. I think the music, it was still in a neutral state for McCartney, to where he wasn't going trying newer and modern technology for his albums, kind of like a New or Chaos and even Egypt Station. So it still appeals to the earlier generation. I mean, obviously he had all that Beatles influence from just coming off the anthology. He's recording this while the anthology is going on as well. And I think it appeals to David's generation too, as a younger Beatles fan. Why wouldn't you be excited about this release right after we got that anthology set? I mean, how old were you, Andy, at that time in '95 when that anthology came out?
In '95, I was 14.
Right, and you were a fan then, right?
Hardcore locked in then.
Yeah, so you were excited about the anthology, I'm sure, and I'm sure you were excited about the Flaming Pie release as well.
Yeah, and I think everybody kind of knew it was in the consciousness at the time, even though he said it publicly in the album liner notes and stuff. But you just knew it. It kind of carried on that kind of anthology vibe with this album.
Mhm.
I think most people were okay with that. It was, did it do well because of the anthology? Probably. But had there been no anthology, I think it still would have been received pretty well. Maybe not sold as well, but I think it still would have been okay, done all right.
Well, Tom, how did you feel that he just didn't include his band from Off the Ground? Because I know how much you love that album.
I was excited that Ringo was helping, George Martin was helping, Steve Miller, who amazing guitar player, so it was cool that he was going to be on there as well. So I mean it was an exciting listen for me, to hear it back then. I was, that period is not necessarily my favorite. I enjoy some of the stuff on, during that time, during that, adult contemporary McCartney time, but yeah, I was actually kind of happy that period was over.
Wasn't the Tom, wasn't the first dance at your wedding to Looking for Changes?
Yes, Looking for Changes and Come On People. Yeah. No.
I've never heard the argument that Flaming Pie hadn't aged well. I don't think that Flaming Pie I don't think the production stylings of that are.
No, I don't.
Like I think Off the Ground sounds a lot more 90s than Flaming Pie does.
Right.
In my opinion, but I don't know.
Yeah,
Sam, go into it with an open mind.
I think it's probably his most personal album. I think, given the history, and Linda was dying and stuff. That's what I hear when I hear this record. It's full of emotion and preparing, to move on, because he knew that his wife was dying. So that's when I listen to this record, that's what I hear of when I hear this music. So it's like a dividing line in looking at this.
Not a fine line.
Not a fine line.
Okay, dividing.
It's not. It's a dividing.
I really gotta go here.
so going with Linda's last album, and a lot of the ephemera is a lot of her photographs in the books. Do you feel like Flaming Pie is that end wall, even though we didn't complete everything in the middle of the archive series? Because she kind of contributed a lot of the photos of these archive editions.
It's kind of been like we've gotten the box sets and we've reanalyzed the music and it's been reappreciated, which has been great, but it's also been like another vehicle to really look at the stuff that she's done as a photographer and get all this
absolutely
incredible photographic content. A lot of what we've seen, a lot of what we haven't seen. So I think that's like a subtext to this whole archive campaign is showcasing Linda really throughout
which is I think important, because she pretty much did take a back seat in her career for Paul. I mean a lot of the shots that she did, we're looking at the Linda McCartney photo books right now, a lot of that stuff she did in the 60s. I mean, she was pretty much the Leibowitz before any was, so she was the first woman photographer to have a photo on Rolling Stone, so she was, well on her way to establish herself as the leading, rock photographer, if you will, I do think it's important that he adds these photos, because they are some really marvelous photos, especially the landscape photos. The Polaroid Diaries has a lot of the latest book that came out last year. Was it last year? It came out. It has a lot of wonderful landscape photos in it. So I mean, everything that she's done. I mean, I haven't seen a bad photo yet. I mean, I'm sure there's some out there, but the stuff that he's presenting to us these last decade or so they've been really wonderful to see. So I think it's definitely important that he brings these photos out for us to see. So
And he's already released some like little. There's been a couple. We had the video of Young Boy drop too, which was cool.
Yep. Yeah. So we 2 versions actually, because we didn't get we didn't get The World Tonight. We didn't get Young Boy on the McCartney Years box set. So
Right.
we'll have that on the DVD. We'll have Beautiful Night. And we'll have Little Willow as well on that set. Dave, are you looking at the context of the box?
Yep.
So
I'm
it's
just
5
pumped.
CDs, right?
5 CDs. The 5th CD is kind of like you kind of see in The World Tonight where he's with the microphone. I think he's with one of the interviewers. He's going through, the Mellotron, New Strawberry Fields, and then Flaming Pie with the Bells. That's going to be a whole, I think, one, maybe it's a multi-track, but it's a 60-minute CD of him just going, and I think it's in his studio going around recreating some of those sounds.
Okay, cool. And then disc 4, I think, is B-sides, and then that's the Ubu Jubu, and then that's Ballad of Skeletons, which, here's the original CD release for Ballad of Skeletons. But I'm kind of excited that this is coming out. I mean, I know not a lot of people know this track. I'm glad that people are going to get a chance to discover it. I don't consider it like a masterpiece or anything, but it's cool. I dig Ginsberg from time to time. Some of the stuff is all right. I particularly like this. I think there's a YouTube video of Paul playing guitar while Ginsberg does spoken word. He's got Apple tie-ins. He's known Paul since the mid-'60s. So I think it's a pretty cool collaboration. There's also Philip Glass on here and Lenny Kaye. So I mean, it's a pretty cool collaboration. So hopefully people will listen to it with an open mind and kind of get the feel for it and realize that Paul was a very big contributor to the avant-garde genre of music. So looking forward to that. The Ubu Juba stuff, I would imagine those are the stuff that were on the CD singles.
The only edit part is just like the intro song and outro. They're a little bit shorter, but I think that.
Yeah. And they're probably not going to be. Yeah, go ahead, Sam.
Do we know if we're going to get Squid in that set? Just because I've noticed that Squid has been taken off of YouTube recently. It's one of my favorite.
That may be a hidden track.
It's gone.
That might be a hidden track on the deluxe.
Well, wasn't it included in one of the Ubu Jubus?
It is.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. But see, the thing is, those tracks were all laid down as one track.
Yeah.
You can't separate. So you have to listen to the whole thing.
Hey, Sam, did you notice if I Love This House was also taken from YouTube?
Ooh. Well, I've been getting into my Phil Ramone sessions lately. That's one of my favorite kind of bootlegs to listen to at the moment. And if you go to most of them now, about half the tracks are missing. Atlantic Ocean's been wiped. At least one version has the rough mix. But for some reason, I can still find Christian pop. I can still find Love It and P.S. Love Me Do. It's like, fuck off. Give me Big Daddy,
Well, thank God we still had P.S. Love Me Do. I mean, what would we do without that?
Sam, to answer your question, Squid is going to be a part of part 3 of Ubu Jubu when it comes out.
Oh, thank God.
Good. But will it be its own track number?
Probably
That's the
not.
question. Probably not.
So I was alluding to there's a couple I'm reading in the forums that there's going to be a couple hidden tracks on, I think the
big
deluxe. Yeah.
Oh,
exactly.
cool.
$600. Yeah.
Oh, on that
so
one.
So that was on that one. Correct.
Well, screw everything I said earlier. I'm shelling out the $600.
No, I mean you get on the 250.
Finally, there you go. That's
it'll be on the 250.
Yeah,
one?
there's no video and audio differences between the Uber one and the regular deluxe.
Okay, they're all the same.
Yeah, it's just that. Cool. Yes, it's just the etched vinyl and the Polaroids. If you want to shell 100% more,
that's not worth it, in my opinion.
Nope.
Right.
What's wrong with Sam? He's frozen.
That's kind of a loaded question, isn't it?
That's a whole another episode, right?
Squid's on there. He's done. Yeah.
Yeah, he found squid. He's out of here.
He got all he needed.
All right. Well, Sam comes back. We'll add him on, and hopefully we'll get him back on the show. But any other thoughts on this release? I mean, I think we can all agree that this is an album that we're all excited about, and happy that is coming out. However, times being what they are, it maybe could have been, what's the word I'm looking for? It could have been released maybe a little differently, or whatnot. But it is what it is. It's coming out. I'm happy it is. And
what do you think of the two vinyl half-speed master as opposed from the original 1 LP version that's going for like $300 on eBay these days?
Yeah, I'm not familiar with half speed.
It's just how it's mastered, but it's they spread it across 2 LPs now. Maybe it's more of a money thing because it's $40 for just the 2 LP.
Mm-hmm.
I paid $30 for the original vinyl in '97.
Wow.
Oh wow. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm still debating on which one to get for that. Whether or not I'm gonna go for the 3 or just get the 2.
So there's no standard 1 album vinyl version of this, right?
No.
So the 3 has it's a mixture of CD 2 and 3, hodgepodge of home recordings and studio run-throughs.
Dave, that doesn't have the B-sides on it. That doesn't have Broomstick or Looking for You or anything.
Not
like
on
that.
the vinyl, no.
No, that's just the
home.
But
yeah, so you actually got to get one of the big box sets to get the B-sides.
Yeah, it won't be on vinyl. Yeah.
Because then the 2-disc. What about the 2? Yeah, what about the 2-disc, David? Does it say the B-sides on it, or is it all just? Because I know it's 21 tracks on the second disc for the 2-disc.
Which is good. That's good.
Yeah, so
that's a good thing. That's
yeah.
Okay. So I'm on Super Deluxe Edition. So you get. Want me to just run through it? I mean, I'm sorry. Well, on the 2-disc CD, you do get some of the B-sides.
Okay.
Broomstick, Looking for You.
Cool.
Come On Down, Come On Baby. That might be. I'm not familiar with that, so that might be something new. Same Love is on there.
That's that Chatter in the studio stuff. That's what that is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whole Life on there as well.
No, I'm not on the 2 CD.
Okay. All right.
But I'm psyched about the couple. The run through for Beautiful Night and the '95 demo.
Yeah, that '95 demo.
Definitely.
We're very curious to hear what that one sounds like.
Absolutely.
I threw it right in on the track list when I saw that. I said, I want to hear that one.
That'd be my go-to.
Yeah, because you'd have to ask yourself then. Okay, so Beautiful Night's on there. We know that it was started in the mid '80s. Would they include the earlier editions of that
just Ubu
that song on this one? Yeah, just on the Ubu Jubu. So we'll probably have to wait for a Broad Street or Press to Play set in order to hear the early beginnings of Beautiful Night, which featured Billy Joel's band back then.
There is super value for the 2 CD because I don't remember Flowers in the Dirt 2 CD. I forgot what that included, but to get 21 out of the 26,
that's pretty good.
Yeah,
yeah,
it's a good intro.
Sam, can you hear us? Are you there?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, I'm here. All good.
Okay, gotcha. So you're just gonna stick with audio for the time being?
Yeah, it's making things a lot better on my end.
Okay, cool. Very good. Very good. Okay, anybody else want to chime in about anything, last minute details about the box set? Yeah, so if you follow the Hoffman forum, you'll see a lot of interesting conversations in there, like we always do.
Really, conversation pitching is good.
Yeah, I know. So let's get on to the topic at hand here. As I said earlier, we're going to do this new game, and it might be a continuous series. Maybe a few months down the line, we'll do another album, maybe Off the Ground, maybe Wings Over America. Who knows? But anyways, we're going to take Egypt Station, this bad boy right here. We're going to remove 3 songs that we could probably think it'd be better without those songs on there, and we'll add The 7 bonus tracks that we got throughout the following year and a half, those being Get Started, Nothing for Free, Frank Sinatra's Party, 62nd Street, Get Enough, Home Tonight, and In a Hurry. So I'll tell you what, I'll start by removing my 3, and then we'll just go around the horn. So I'd make no excuses about my least favorite track on the album. That's People Want Peace. I just don't think, it fits the album. It's
maybe off the ground.
Yeah, maybe it fits off the ground for sure. But anyways, it's a lovely statement. We all want peace for sure. It's just that a lot of these peace songs that Paul and Ringo have done throughout the years, I just don't think they necessarily work. Pipes of Peace is probably my favorite, peace song that he's done. Because we've had Peace in the Neighborhood, we have People Want Peace, and we've also had a peace segment in the Liverpool Oratorio. So he's definitely got that peace vibe going on. But yeah, so that's the first song that I would remove. The second song I would remove that I like, but I've just never been able to get into, and that's Despite Repeated Warnings. It's an epic, yeah, sure. Musically, it's fine. But for one reason or the other, I just never been able to really fully appreciate.
You don't like the deeper connotations or the innuendo on that?
No, not really. No,
it's understandable.
Yeah, yeah. And then lastly, the rest of the album I absolutely love, so I had to pick the song that I love the least out of that, and that's "Do It Now," which is a song I do really enjoy on the album. But like I said, all the other songs I really appreciate more than that. So that being said, those are my 3 songs that I would remove from Egypt Station. And let's David, what songs would you
I'm glad I followed you, because all right. I'll tell you what kind of disappointed me on the album. Unfortunately, I never felt this disappointed, and that's just my preference, is the moment I heard For You, and it's the song is just, to me, is mediocre. And then to me, I kind of felt like it was trying so hard to be so 2018 contemporary. That might be the off the ground for me for that song as it is for you in 93. I just like, I don't know. He had 2 producers. He worked with Ryan Tedder, and I'll tell you, my replacement is one of a Ryan Tedder song. But for me, is yo, hey, but a bit,
no, thank you.
Yeah, no, I is offensive to me, and it's not, and I think people value him trying new stuff because that's what he's always done in his career. It's not for me. I'll tell you, I liked this one song when I first heard the small clips, and that kind of got me pumped for the album. And I think June of 18.
Mm-hmm.
I just think it's a weak lead-off song anyways, or single, was Come On To Me. I liked it.
Oh my God.
It's not a fine line to me, and I think the progression's very elementary. I like the sitar Dan Electro kind of breakdown part. There's deeper cuts on this album that are musically, I think, more fulfilling to me than Come On To Me. It just sounds that it's something I could just come up in my jam room with a buddy of mine. I think, I don't know. It worked initially. It doesn't age well with me.
Okay. And
lastly, well, all right. No, we're just talking about the regular edition. All right.
Yes.
I understand where you're coming from. People Want Peace. God, there might be a tie here. I think it's between People Want Peace and Back in Brazil, even though
you got to pick one, buddy. You got to pick one.
Pick one, man.
Well, which one did Sam go off the rails on? Over.
That was
Brazil,
back in Brazil.
Back in Brazil, yeah.
Oh, all right. Just to be separate from Tom, I'll pick Back in Brazil. I like the song, and I got to keep repeating the listens to it. It's I don't know. It kind of I don't know. That album kind of gets moody in some places, and I just felt like maybe the flow that didn't work well, and I have issues with the flow of the album in general. But I'll just pick Back in Brazil. I want to hear Sam's rebuttal.
All right. Well, speaking of Sam, we'll go with Sam next. And Sam, what 3 songs would you remove from the standard edition of Egypt Station?
This wasn't an easy choice for me, gentlemen.
Okay.
This really wasn't easy. I'm guessing we're not going to count Station 1 and Station 2. We're not going to be those guys, are we?
We have to be those guys.
It's like,
yeah.
I chose the Mumbo link. Oh, aren't I different? It's whatever. I'm actually quite aghast. My mouth is agape and on the floor because I've got the exact same 3 songs as Mr. Tom Hunyadi.
Oh.
So the first song I went with was Despite Repeated Warnings, which is a song that suffers from what I like to call long-haired lady syndrome, which is where Macca puts 2 epic songs back to back at the end of an album, and the one before the last one suffers greatly because of it. Like we didn't need 2 endings for Egypt Station, and Despite Repeated Warnings is nothing that we haven't heard better in wildlife in terms of like nature and that kind of thing. And if you're going to look at it in terms of this being the Trump song, it's not going to age well. Like, this is a song that's going to age like bread, not like wine. You know what I mean? My second song, People Want Peace. I just told this exact same story to Anthony Ratuna from the Glass Onion podcast today, but I'll tell it to you again. When I first bought my vinyl copy of Egypt Station, I felt very retro, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to be a good little boy, and I'm not going to listen to it on my iPod on the way home. And I got about 5 minutes through my bike ride home before I stopped and immediately put on Egypt Station. And when you're a young person like me and Dylan, you sometimes might accidentally leave the shuffle button on. So I popped on Station 1. Okay, this is cool. This is interesting. And then that like ball, that wooden ball that ever drops, dunk, 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 and it's like, and then this really anthemic statement from Paul comes out, and he's like, I'm like, oh wow, this is like going to be a really cool political album. This is really interesting. People Want Peace. What a great opening track. And then when I heard it in the correct context, like, what was it, song 11, something like that? 8, is it?
Song.
Yeah, it sucks at song 8. Oh my God.
What do you think of I Don't Know in the beginning of this slow, kind of somber song?
So we all know Paul likes to alternate. I'll do a slow song, then a fast song, then a slow song, then a fast song. And I don't think there's a single Beatles McCartney podcast out there that hasn't said Come On To Me should have opened the album. It just should have. I don't know, as this like uncertain, weak, fragile McCartney is not the tone they should have gone for when starting this album.
Okay.
Like, we have 3 Old Man Paul songs on the album. I Don't Know, Do It Now, and Hand in Hand. And Hand in Hand has the really delicate, beautiful falsetto vocal.
Yeah.
That's why it's staying. I reckon that's why Tom kept it as well.
Absolutely.
Do It Now is the classic kind of, okay, I've heard the first 3 chords to this song and the first bar. What's the second bar like? Oh, it's literally the exact same. It just gets more epic as it goes. And I thought we left this kind of repetitive songwriting in Red Rose Speedway in the early 70s. And
I think sometimes he likes to go back and revisit ideas that he had in the past. Like, okay, so Do It Now is, based off, his father and, a statement from his father. And then we already got something like that with Put It There.
Put It There, yeah, exactly. Much better song.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. So those are your 3 picks. Dylan, let's go with you. What are your 3 takeaways from the standard edition of Egypt Station?
All right. Well, Well, firstly, I'll say Tom and Andy, as you guys discuss after the podcast how terrible of an idea it was to have both Sam and I on at the same time. Let it just be known. Let it just be known that Sam was the one who referred to him and I as young people, and therefore implying that you guys are older.
I wasn't implying anything.
Well, I mean, it's on record. We'll just say
this is why this episode is going to be titled Zoo Gang. Okay.
So
because I'm a fucking animal. Yeah.
Okay, my three. Tom, I'm sorry, I love you, but I am also taking off for you. For me, even aside from the double entendre, for me, these lyrics are pretty distractingly bad. I mean, you make me want to go out and steal. Is among one of the worst on the record.
And I just say, I think he has this Kanye West influence on some of this stuff.
Whoa. What's wrong with Kanye West?
No, nothing. I just feel like he pulls too much current influence from him. And
agreed.
Music, vocal. I don't know, but there's some vocal tunings akin to, I guess, I don't know. I didn't mean to offend anyone. I just.
Yeah, no. I hear what you're saying, and it's funny because I actually I don't mind 4 or 5 seconds, but a song like this feels disingenuous to me. I mean, he's admitted as such that he was trying to write a hit here, and apparently what that meant to him was a cheap lyrical joke that was written to make headlines and create a loud, bombastic soundscape over a predictable chord progression. I mean, I get why people like it, but it really doesn't do it for me, and I think it's unbecoming of him, and not necessarily because of the lyric, but the whole thing. Andy, I love you too, and I'm so sorry, but I'm also taking off People Peace. I think there are some interesting musical aspects going on. I love that acoustic guitar lick that comes in after the chorus. Like, I really dig that, but the vocal and the lyrics leave a lot to be desired for me. And and even something about the way he comes in with the vocal puts me on. I'm not adverse to the Old Man Maca voice, because I love Confidant and I Don't Know, but it gets to me a little bit on this song. It's very, very hoarse, like right up front, and for some reason it gets to me. And there's nothing about this song that Come On People doesn't do just a little better for me personally. And for my last one, I hate to be, agreeing with so many people so far, but it came down to 2 in particular. But I'm also going with Despite Repeated Warnings. And Andy, I know you like that one too, so please don't put a hit out on me. But I don't have a problem whatsoever with any artist talking about social messages in their song, especially when they're pretty important. I mean, global warming is something we need to be talking about, but the song itself just doesn't flow particularly well to me. There's so many people, and I'm not, you guys aren't like this, but there's some people who automatically hear the whole Paul jamming multiple songs together and they're like, oh, it's brilliant, it's classic McCartney, he's doing the thing, and
right.
But in my mind, it's only classic McCartney if he does that and it's of high quality. Like Band on the Run, Live and Let Die, those are quality compositions, and just in my opinion, this isn't a quality composition. I mean, Janet and Planet, I mean, there's it's a bit much for me. It achieves Hunt You Down, Naked Sea Link. That song achieves, I think, everything that this song tries to better.
Okay.
There are certain things I like about it, but I've never liked it as much as I wanted to, because I think when before the record came out, it was the whole like, wait till you guys hear this song, like you're not even gonna believe it, it's unbelievable. And then
the expectation was like, so high for what the quality of it was.
And then I heard it and was like, all right. And then I heard Hunt You Down. I'm like, wait, this is that's more my speed.
Yeah.
So that's just my opinion. Andy, don't unfriend me on Facebook.
Never,
You
man.
know.
Yeah.
So,
You know,
those
I get the "fuck you" thing. I totally get it. And I was on that same bandwagon until I saw the video. And it's just this thing where I've been that kid quite a few times in my life. You know, you meet a new girl, you know, you get a kiss.
What, you've been in black and white?
You know, yes, that too.
Well,
So,
you're the one that implied he was old,
yeah.
Sam. You should have done that.
Thank you, Dylan. But I've been that kid. You know, I've sang songs on the way home after being excited about meeting a new girl that seemed to be interested in me as well. So I think it was that video that did it for me on that song. But I totally get it. Trust me, I get it. Okay, tough guy over there, Mr. Band on the Run T-shirt. What you got?
For you, Gone. I think we can agree. Sorry.
Okay, wow, all right.
Yes.
That's out.
That was
That's
so
out.
decisive.
I don't mince words. I come from New Jersey, so we don't play around here.
Oh!
Bing.
We don't play around here.
Love it.
For you,
Stuttgart.
yeah. My second one, and I haven't heard it said yet, but for me, it just doesn't do a whole lot. That's Caesar Rock.
Oh, man.
Someone was going to pick it. Someone was going to choose it.
I knew I was going to kill Dylan with that.
I hope that the woman you marry will not have matching teeth.
Yeah.
It just sounds like he's just forcing the issue too much in that song for me. The double thing.
Fair enough.
Et tu brute?
Sorry, I like the match. I like how it ends. I like the matching teeth. Not gonna dime.
Just likes the final 2 seconds.
Yeah. Both of the song, can't do it. That's a skip. Gone.
All right.
Number 3. I think maybe Dave might have floated it out there. It was on his list, but I think he ended up keeping it, or maybe he tossed it. I don't know. Back in Brazil.
Oh wow.
Back in Brazil.
Okay.
Now those are the 3. I mean, I like it, but I don't love it. I mean, I like the whole album. Yeah. I think universally though, most of us except Tom feel that for you, like universally hated. Now it could be gone.
For You is amazing, actually. For You is really good.
Sorry, Sam.
For You is great.
But those are my 3. Back in Brazil, I like it, but for looking for the 3 that I was going to replace with those,
right.
I like People on Peace. I don't even like all of People on Peace. I like the whole like syncopation thing at the end with the drums. That's kind of what I like about the best part about that song. Well,
sure.
The theme of peace and everything else, like what Tom was saying, I get it. It's been done before. I just like sonically how it sounds. That's more. I like how it sounds, not the message. Despite repeated warnings, again, more the same thing. It's meandering a little bit, but I enjoy it. It was never going to come my 3 that I was going to take off. But you knew. Those are my
all right, cool. So that being said, now what we're doing now is we're taking 3 songs off that we don't necessarily care for and adding 3 songs that Paul has presented to us over the following year and a half. And I think all 7 of these songs, maybe excluding one, would have been as favorable. Not saying that there's one song in these 7 that I can't stand or anything, but I think any of these 7 songs may make Egypt Station even better than what it is. I mean, we all know that sometimes we question the songs that Paul puts on an album. I think of songs like Right Away, I'll Give You a Ring, stuff like that just didn't make the cut for one reason. Flying to My Home.
Flying to My Home, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like, why are you thinking, why isn't that on the album? So,
because we needed Motor of Love on there.
Yes, we needed all 7 minutes of that. So in my opinion, these 3 songs that I pick makes Egypt Station even better. And I'm, also please, when you guys are talking about your picks, let me know exactly how you feel about the finished project of Egypt Station, and then if you think this makes it a better album or not. My three picks that I think would make Egypt Station 10 times even better than what it is. I'm going to start off with Nothing for Free, which is just a great sounding song, and I think it works with the other more upbeat, up-tempo songs that are on the album. Next up is Frank Sinatra's Party, which is a track that from time to time he'll bring something back from the past, which we all learned was originated from a song called Fishy Matters Underwater, which you can hear on YouTube on a compilation, rarities video on YouTube, and it's just that it's a doom doom doom, that it's just the music to it, and I think it works. I think it was that instrumentation back then was maybe a little bit ahead of its time back then. I think it just really screams current when I hear that track. Whatever current is these days, however you want to define it. Maybe you youngsters can define it a little bit better than I can. And then the last song I picked was In a Hurry, which I've just been in love with that track from the minute that it was released. So great. I think it's a little Beatle-ish and also current as well. So I think that song kind of gives you the best of both worlds on that song. So to me, those three songs I think make Egypt Station a classic. And not that I wasn't sold into it already, but yeah, it's an album that I think would be regarded as an album that you could listen to 50 years from now and people would still really enjoy it. So, all right, David, so what say you? What are the tracks that you would add to your version of Egypt Station?
So I have two of the three that you selected. I'm going to go with Get Started. I really like the Targeted Deluxe edition. Mm-hmm. I thought the inclusion of those two songs, Get Started, Nothing for Free, I thought it helped the album. I think maybe Get Started should have been added to the beginning of the album, but that might have been too easy to predict. Right. Just like the upbeatness, and I like the breakdown in that song. Going to Nothing for Free, that's my only Ryan Tedder song I appreciate on this album or enjoy. I liked it musically. It kind of reminded me of the song Appreciate from New, kind of that feel. So I don't know if those would have fit better in the flow of the album proper, but I enjoy those two songs a lot. The third one, God, I'm going between Frank Sinatra's Party and 62nd Street.
You know the right choice.
But, God, I think I'm just going to go with Frank Sinatra's Party. I like the two songs from the Record Store Day in 2019, the Black Friday releases. I still got to kind of do my homework on those two songs. I mean, they're good. They kind of came from the same sessions. They wouldn't have hurt to have been on the proper album or even a deluxe edition of it, because they released 3 different versions, Traveler's Edition and Explorer's Edition.
Show you all the versions that they released.
What was that?
Would you like me to show you the 3 versions that they were?
I found a really good price on Amazon UK for like $19 for the Traveler's Edition.
What?
Yeah, no joke. It was $19 shipped to me. No joke, because I kind of got on the vinyl thing when this album came out, and I spent like I spent $40, $50 on McCartney.com, and I bought like the proper album, and I was like, I don't need this. So I flipped on eBay for 100 and people bought it. So I was fine with, the Target edition. And then I downloaded the Traveler's edition off YouTube and was going to create my own mix. But I wanted to experience that album because I live with albums. That's why I bought Flaming Pie on vinyl, because I think there's a different kind of mentality or sit down with the album on vinyl. You got to work for it. And my opinion didn't really change much from how I perceived the album, but I got a hell of a deal for a 3-album LP for $20. Sorry, Sam.
Well, is that 19? Is that 19 pounds?
No, it converted into $19 American. Thank you, SuperDeluxeEdition.com for keeping deals.
That's like 12 quid. That's ridiculous. Oh,
yeah, it still might be there. I don't know, but I took advantage of it, I think, beginning of this year. I don't know. It might have been too easy for me to say. I wouldn't mind flipping or substituting the full version of Who Cares into the proper album. I kind of like intro.
I could have brought that up earlier too, but I didn't think anybody would have considered, that coda there at the end.
Yeah.
Or that added coda, whatever.
Again,
so you're going. All right. So you're going with Get Started, Nothing for Free, and Frank Sinatra's Party then.
Yeah, can I add a side note to this? So I think I texted you this before, Tom, when I listened to the 3 LP on the cheap.
Just twisting the knife, Jesus.
I promise I won't come back. They added auto-tune on the, I think the For You live track. And it kind of pisses me off still on that song, and they post-produced
that song just doesn't work for you no matter what.
No, and I'll take McCartney roughage voice because he embraces it during Maybe I'm Amazed, but like I don't know.
Okay,
I'll leave it at that. But yeah, those are my 3.5 picks. I don't know.
3.5. Okay, fair enough. All right, Sam, you are up. What are your 3 tracks that you would add to the bare bones edition of Egypt Station?
Right, let's just get one thing clear. I know why I was invited here. It's because you all thought I'm going to select Get Enough and I'm going to defend Kanye West and auto-tune, and you're all going to have a big laugh at the expense of the British guy. Well, that's not going to happen. I've seen right through you. I've seen right through the lot of you, and I'm not sadly choosing Get Enough.
I was hoping mostly at least one person would.
Look, there's no way that it balances on the album. Like, anyone who's read Lord of the Rings will know that the main love plot between one of the main characters is not in the book, it's in the appendices right at the end, and it was put in the movies at a later date. That is what Get Enough is. It is part of the Egypt Station story, but it is an appendice. It's not part of the Frodo Sam get the ring to Mordor narrative. It's just not part of that. And that's why I couldn't choose it. First choice, it's got to be Frank Sinatra's Party. It has to be. Come on. To this day, it's my favourite song from the entire album. It's not technically part of the original sessions and the original release. It is my favourite song from Egypt Station. It's a retro cold cut and a modern McCartney production, like techno tunes. That means both those things together are like military grade McCartney for me. And I mean, just think about it this way. This song opens up a possibility for other, dusty projects to come back in the modern era. Could you imagine Cage done by Greg Kurstin or Waterspout done by Ryan Tedder? Come on.
Ooh, well, maybe not the latter, but
And then despite the fact that it might not be completely anecdotal or accurate, just the idea of Paul being at one of Old Blue Eyes' parties is just so evocative and vivid. It's so almost uncharacteristically McCartney. It's such a brilliant lyric in addition to one of these timeless melodies that is created. I find it absolutely addictive. Second up, I've got 62nd Street. Okay. Guys, I've got to let you know, I am a sucker for any song that has whistling, scat jazz, or do-ba-da-doo-doos. And
Fair enough.
Genuine question here. Did anyone else notice a lack of silly love songs on Egypt Station?
Perhaps.
I think this is the only one. This is the only one that I can think of.
Okay.
Hand in Hand, I suppose.
Yeah.
Not a silly love song, but a love song.
Yeah, I don't want love songs from Paul. I want silly love songs.
All right, well,
fair
fair
enough.
enough.
I've got a very specific. I like Lane McCartney. A lot of people don't seem to get that. I love him when he's at his dorkiest. That is when he's at his most pure and most mad Professor McCartney. Like, I've got my flip flops on my feet. No one else could get away with that line. That's brilliant. Could you imagine Axl Rose going, "I got my flip flops on my feet," like that? It just wouldn't work, would it? Oh, carry on.
All right, number 3.
Number 3 is Nothing for Free. It seems rather odd to me that on an album that is so fresh and like meant to be such an introduction to McCartney, that all the youthful songs seem to have been left off the mix and all the old man songs were put on. I feel like the opposite really should have been done. I don't know, like I wasn't that fussed about this song when it first came out, but I kind of realised that, you know, so many songs are McCartney harkening back to a time before I was born, whereas here he's harkening back with that melodic bass and super catchy radio-friendly chorus. This is the best song that McCartney released in the year 2000, but he released 18 years later. It's got that corny, experimental, silly side that is so late 90s, early 2000s. It is fantastic. You get hand claps, you get talk box, possibly even a bit of auto-tune, and come on, everyone here loves "My brain stopped working, my brain stopped working today." It's one of the best bits on the album, and no matter what song you put after that, I'm not sure if any of you have done this, but I've actually done the track listing of what my version of Egypt Station would look like. And going by vinyl, disc 1, side A is exactly the same. Disc 1, side 2 is one track less. It's just Who Cares for You, Confidant, and Hand in Hand. Then we're going to go disc 2, Domino's Back in Brazil, Frank Sinatra's Party, Caesar Rock, which might be the best 4-song run on the entire album. And then we'll end disc 2, side 2 with 62nd Street, Nothing for Free, Station 2, and then Hunt You Down.
All right.
And I've listened to the album a couple of times in this fashion. You don't miss People Want Peace, people. You don't miss it.
I love it. I love it.
Andy just taking shots left and right.
What else is new?
What else? All right, Dylan, my friend, you are up to the plate, my friend. Swing away.
All right, yeah, this was pretty tough. I mean, other than Get Enough, I really enjoy all of these songs and could have made a case for any of them. My first one, I'm also going with Get Started. I mean, I think this is such a cool, there's elements here of like See Your Sunshine. There's a little bit of like Turned Out from the new sessions. And it's almost even in some ways to me kind of like an upbeat Dominoes, but I feel like its inclusion on the record wouldn't be superfluous. You know, I feel like it adds a little bit of an upbeat sort of poppy feel. I mean, this is poppy McCartney that I want to hear. You know, this is melodic, it's fresh, it's modern, but it still has all the hallmarks of everything that, you know, we all love about him. I mean, I just think it's a great song.
Let me ask you this. When you first listened to this, do you listen to it as a fan or a musician?
I always listen to things as a fan first. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I mean, you know, it's difficult to not think about it, you know, to not turn the musician brain off sometimes. But I'm usually able to set that aside at least for the first listen.
Okay.
But second one, not to be boring, but I gotta go with Frank Sinatra's Party. I mean, it's just so cool. I wish that there were Vegas bets going on for this, because I would have put down thousands of dollars on that being Sam's first choice, being an active listener of his show and having a pretty good finger on his pulse.
My show.
But that's Paul or Nothing, people. Paul McCartney podcast. Check it out.
Hey,
I mean, it's
Andy. Make sure you cut that part out, please.
Feel free to get all of your Paul all of the time.
Kidding.
I mean, it's just such a cool song. It's got an unbelievable groove. I mean, I'm with all you guys. This is him embracing modern sounds, modern technology at its finest, and him being able to do that while going back to something, 40 years. I mean, it's brilliant. I mean, the lyrics are cool. And for my last one, sort of, I guess I'm the only one to say this one so far. I'm putting Home Tonight on here. I mean, this song to me, I mean, this is the musical sequel to Take It Away. It's got a perfect chorus. The horns are perfectly integrated into it. It's so spirited. I mean, that melody in the chorus is maybe the best melody of anything he wrote over the whole course of the album. The way that it flows is so effortless. I mean, almost like
I agree with you.
Like, it's almost like the chorus to this one. It's like, I remember the first time I heard this one and just being amazed at how effortless and perfect that melody was. And that's how I feel about Home Tonight. And I feel like for me too, with the flow of this record, I'm with Dave here. I also have some issues with the flow of the record, and I feel like having Home Tonight in there is almost like a late album upbeat sort of excursion would have been perfect. And
I like it.
And I'll go really quick with this too, because I also did the re-sequencing. I didn't do it by sides, but just 1 through 16. I actually like the album starting with I Don't Know, but we don't need to go into that. So I have opening station, I Don't Know, Come On to Me, Get Started. I mean, having those two upbeat songs back to back, I really like. And then Happy With You, Who Cares, Hand in Hand, starting off side 2 with Frank Sinatra's Party, Confidant Back in Brazil, Dominoes, Do It Now, Home Tonight, Caesar Rock, Station 2, and Hunt You Down Naked. I mean, that for me, that's how it should be.
Yeah. You make an interesting thought there. Frank Sinatra Party, I think would make a great kick-ass side 2 opener.
Yeah, I mean, it's too cool. But anyway, those are my 3.
Great. Okay, there, buddy.
Okay.
Andy, which you're gonna you got 3 songs that you think is going to improve.
I do, and 2 of them.
Station.
2 of them Dylan mentioned.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go with Get Started as well. I like that song a lot. I like the harmonies in that song a lot towards the end.
Mm-hmm.
Very kind of memory almost full, reminiscing on that a bit.
Yeah.
I like that song quite a bit. I think, and that could have gone anywhere in the album. I didn't resequence it like you guys did. I didn't have time to.
That's very millennial. So don't worry about it.
Which actually I looked up. Technically, I think I am a millennial, but I don't. I really.
Oh, you 84? You 84?
Oh, I'm 84. He's 81.
81. I think I technically am. I don't think I am. I'm not in mind, body, and spirit. That's for sure.
See, I always thought it was 84 was the. Or 83, I think it was like
83 started. Maybe.
Look it up.
Yeah,
I saw 81.
66 to 83, I thought it was.
Is what?
is my generation, and then 84 starts.
What are you, Tom?
Gen X.
Oh, okay. All right. Maybe that's
the last. The last great.
Yeah, I'm
no boomers here.
No. Well.
Anyways,
yeah.
Go ahead.
Could have boomed.
I have been called the boomer on many occasions. So, again, it surprised me.
In mind,
Yeah. Get Started. Great. Get Started is great. And also, I think Tom's going to be, not surprised to hear my next 2 choices because we did a show about the single. and he knows how much I just loved both of these songs, and that's Home Tonight and In a Hurry. I thought, though, I mean, and Frank Sinatra's Party's been great, but for me, that's definitely like additional content, extra track bonus stuff. Great song, I love it. And if Home Tonight and In a Hurry hadn't come out, I probably would have had Frank Sinatra's Party as one of my choices for sure. But Home Tonight, and the use of the brass on both those songs, off the charts great, especially In a Hurry. I liked, really used well both of those. So,
and the bass playing on both tracks are amazing.
Oh my God, yeah. And again, it's like just trickling them out, and you wonder, like, the method to the madness of trickling 7 tracks out over the course of a year and a half. He drops Get Enough on New Year's Eve or whatever it was, or New Year's Day.
It was New Year's Eve for me, New Year's Day for...
Right, yeah, Happy New Year. Thanks a lot for the auto-tune. Okay. But again, I know, Tom, you feel, and I like the second half of that Get Enough is fantastic.
Oh, I think it's some of the best music that he has written.
Yes.
In the last 20 years. That second half, I think, is just beautiful, and I love that very soft-spoken, dialogue that starts that second half as well.
Yeah. But yeah, for me, it was pretty simple. Get started, Home Tonight, In a Hurry, especially In a Hurry. I mean, In a Hurry, I think, is probably one of his best songs in the last 20 years. It's like on that high level.
Wow. Yeah. I think so too. Yeah. I think if you maybe would spend a little bit more time to it, not that I don't think it's perfect already, but that could have been like the epic song that, despite repeated warnings, wanted to be.
Could have closed the album proper, maybe put that.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
It's just got a great, it's got a great vibe to it. It's positive. It's upbeat. The production value of it is parts great. So, and it's
right. Well, I think most of the sessions for this album was more upbeat, up tempo. I mean, you really don't have a lot of the like Sam said, like silly love songs or even the softer stuff like Hand in Hand. So for the most part, I'm really happy that it is, you say what you want about the newer sounding aspect of the album, but for me, I'm happy that it's I can listen to it and then get motivated. You're not necessarily getting like any downer tracks or anything like that, or the the old man vocals that you've been hearing lately. But they work on this album for me, just like they did for early days. So vocally wise, I mean, what do you guys think of this record? I mean, Andy, what did you think of his vocals throughout this album?
Vocally, I thought it was great. I didn't. There's parts where you hear the old man voice, but it doesn't detract from it because it's where he is now. So,
right.
I generally prefer the ballad ones. That's why I love I Don't Know. I like the ballad vocals a little bit better than the rockier ones, but the rockier ones are still just as good. I mean, he's still out there, just
right.
He's all doing it. But I enjoy the softer ballady vocal, Macca, especially on this record a little bit. Yeah.
Okay. All right, Dylan, vocals on Egypt Station.
I think they're good. Like I said before, I don't necessarily mind the old man Macca voice. I mean, I'm a fan of everything that Bob Dylan's ever done. I mean, so I'm certainly not going to be complaining about gravelly vocals. There are a couple songs, like I said, especially the beginning of People Want Peace and the beginning of Despite Repeated Warnings, where it's one thing if he sounds like an old man, or it's one thing if there's a little bit of gravel, but the beginning of those songs, he sounds really hoarse and like almost like he has bronchitis or something. And so when that happens, that's when I'm kind of like, all right, Paul, you maybe could have done another take there, or waited for a different day. So there's moments on it, but overall it doesn't bother me. I don't think that I think some of the positive reviews that came out about this album that were hailing it as some of his finest vocal performances in years, I think that was a little pandering and unnecessary, because I think it's objectively untrue, but it doesn't mean that it sounds bad. I mean, I think it sounds good on most of it. And and as far as auto-tune goes, I think when auto-tune is used as an instrument, like, it can be really cool. I don't mind the way it's used on certain songs. And so many artists these days use it to touch up certain things. It bothers me sometimes. It doesn't bother me others. It bothers me 400 times more on Ringo's records, but that is a different story for a different day.
Yeah, let the Ringo podcasters worry about that, okay?
Are there any
Which I'm
Ringo
very excited to.
Starting a new one called Peace and Love.
No
I'm
autographs.
very excited here to announce that I will be starting the very first.
Oh, save it for the plugs. Save it for the plugs.
I know.
Yeah. Sam, what are your thoughts on his vocal performance on this album?
I'm still very much in the honeymoon period with Egypt Station, if I'm completely honest. Like, in all honesty, it was the only album that was released during the time that I started my own podcast. So I'm unbelievably biased towards Egypt Station. It is my Paul McCartney album. It is the album that I did hot takes for, and trailers and discussion and hype and all of that. It was the only album where I've had that. And so even if objectively it's not his best, you're going to be hard-pressed to find anyone that doesn't give it 4 stars, 80% on Rotten Tomatoes, if that's your gig. This is an album where we have an incredible amount of diverse vocal performances from Paul. And in terms of what we get, we have an incredible gamut of what he's able to do at 74 to 76 at the time of recording. And what we do get, I honestly can't deride too much. You always have to take these things in context. He's been getting comments about his voice since 1989, since he started touring again. And I personally feel, from when I saw him back in 2018, he sings some of these songs better than he did back in 1989, like when he was butchering Coming Up and stuff like that. So I'm actually quite positive towards his vocals on this side. I just feel that if you are going to do Old Man Paul, I want an album of it. I want a whole MTV unplugged set of Paul with a piano going, I got crows at my window, George at my toe.
Rick Rubin style.
Yeah.
I love it.
I love it.
We don't need For You. Oh, sorry, just one last thing. We don't need For You mixed with Do It Now. We need either an album of For You or an album of Do It Now. That's my final point.
Fair enough. David, my old co-host, I'll give you final word on the vocals.
I think Dylan hit it on the head, and as a fellow musician, I think you had all that studio time, and I think
I'm talking about professional musicians. Sorry.
Oh, what is a professional musician? I mean, it's like I don't tour live. Yeah,
I'm just kidding.
I'm just but he hit it on the head, because I think what is offensive about autotune, which is another. I mean, autotune's been around for years. It's called putting your voice through a vocoder. That was kind of the original. But he picked probably the weakest takes of his voice to do that, because you kind of you hear that rough voice, and you almost feel like, are they trying to use the auto tuning to help that dry take, or is it to add to it? I guess I want to hear him on his good vocal take with auto tuning vocoder, and it might be used as an effect, not a helpful kind of technology. So when I heard Get Enough and For You with the auto tune with that vocal take, it just didn't sit well with me. And then you hear Despite Repeated Warnings and Hand in Hand. Yeah, he could have just, I don't know, drink more water, or saved it for another day. You hear a lot of flourishes of the effects, and I don't know. And so vocally, it is where he's at right now, and it's not going to get any better. Who knows? During this time off from touring, like Roger Daltrey said, if you don't use it, you lose it. So I don't know if he's just singing in his studio right now. It'd be
Recording
really
McCartney 3 right now. He better be.
Yeah, he better be writing an album right now. I mean, but like when he goes back to tour next year or the year after, hopefully that voice is even there. You know, he's much better than Brian Wilson these days. I'll bring that up because Brian, I think there's some health issues with Brian, and unfortunately they're just putting him out there. But Paul is, you know, playing bass, being interactive, and his voice is what it is. But because he's given us the last 30 years, last 18 with his current band, 2.5 hour set, you know, 36 to 41 songs. So you can't knock him for getting the value in terms of a live setting. So I don't, you know, his vocals are what they are on this album, and I have no objections to it, you know.
You know, David, it's interesting that you bring up Roger Daltrey because you know, when you say that, you know, his vocals are what they are and they're probably not going to get better, that is probably true. But Daltrey, I believe, had surgery sometime in the last decade, and if you watch videos from before it, he was starting to sound pretty rough. But man,
now he's great now.
When I saw him in 06, he couldn't hold anything, and then I think he had surgery in 2010 or 11.
Yep.
Okay.
I saw that. Yeah, I
old.
saw them do the Quadrophenia tour in 2012, and he was phenomenal.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Well, I watched a video of him doing Baba O'Reilly last year, and my jaw was on the floor. And like, so, you know, I don't know exactly. Maybe he had maybe he had some nodes going on, or there were some other things. I don't know if it's the same situation with Paul, but I mean, if it is, I mean, Paul is obviously such a prideful guy. You know, he doesn't change the key to his songs, and he, you know, is gonna do certain songs even if it's not fit for his voice anymore. You know, but if he could swallow his pride and maybe even look into something like that, like getting that surgery, if it would help. You know, I would certainly love to see that, as I think a lot of us would. And if that's not a possibility, then I would love to see him swallow his pride and lower the song's keys a little bit. It's fine. You don't need to prove yourself anymore. I mean, that's how I feel.
Or he's susceptible to allergies, because you could hear his talking voice. Either it's really gruffy at times, or it sounds, you know, rough. For a 78-year-old, it's not bad. But, you know, the McCartney, I think it was Memory Almost Full. He had like an audio CD of all the tracks. He's talking, and he's 64, and it was really rough. And maybe he was stressed, you know, he's going through the divorce. But then you hear him recently, it's not so bad, you know, and it goes back and forth.
Sure.
Yeah. Gotcha. Cool. All right, guys. Well, thank you very much for this. This was a lot of fun. Maybe we'll do this again in the future if we get a good response. So, everybody listening, you know, what songs would you take off Egypt Station? What songs would you add to Egypt Station? We would love to hear your thoughts on that. When this video goes up on YouTube, you can comment there, or you can email us at twolegspodcast@gmail.com and give us your thoughts on songs you take away and songs you would add. So once again, I want to thank Dylan for joining us. Dylan, you got anything coming on, or you're working on, or what's life been like for you the last few months?
Last few months has certainly been slow. I am working on a Beatles related project right now that I'm not fully ready to announce, because I think I should maybe be more than like a quarter of the way done with it before I you know, make any major promises. But I am working on it, and you know, I am excited to announce it perhaps on this show when I am feeling comfortable with it. You know, I'm doing okay. I don't have too much to plug. You know, I guess the only thing that I have to say is, you know, all five of us are here right now because, you know, we love this man and his music, and, you know, we love music in general, and music is such a beautiful escape. It means so many things to all of us. And I think with, you know, the way that everything is going right now, we need music and podcasts and other things. Like every now and then it's important to take care of your mental health and, you know, escape from the world and go into that. So without trying to make any major grand statements for everyone trying to relax, I guess the only thing I would want to say is I hope that all you guys, and I hope that everyone listening is doing their part to keep themselves mentally sane and educating themselves on everything that's going on right now. It's a really weird time and weird world that we're living in, but hopefully if we all have empathy for each other, empathy for people with different viewpoints, no matter how much we may disagree with them, we can actually work towards making something better for everyone. And so that's the only thing I have to plug is empathy and kindness and education and conversation and all that stuff.
All right. Well said. Thank you again for being here, and we always look forward to talking and just hanging out in general. So Dylan, thank you very much. Sam,
and thank you guys.
Yeah, Sam, what's going on with you? Tell us about Paul or Nothing if there's anybody out there that doesn't know about it.
Well, I've been kicked at the ass recently because I saw how many high-profile guests you had on your show, Tom. I thought, Jesus Christ, how has he had Robert Rodriguez and I haven't? So that has really kicked me into gear with my last few episodes. I'm really excited for a load of interviews that I've got coming out. So I do have to thank you.
Awesome. Yeah. I've noticed that you're kind of like changing a little bit because you're pretty much just going with the albums there for a while, and then you would throw in an author from time to time. But it looks like you're kind of going away from that and then doing talking about some other subjects.
Yeah, I try to just look at whatever you're doing and try and do whatever the opposite of that is. Like, I'm like, yes, Tom hasn't done Hey Grandude. You know what I mean? Paul or Nothing. I'm not as nice as Dylan. Let me just get the nice stuff out of the way. Tom, Andy, thank you so much for having me back on your show. This has been a wonderful excuse to listen to Egypt Station, one of the best albums Paul has ever put out. I think we can all agree on that. It's at least 4 stars. It's not 5. We'll leave it at 4. Tom, I've got to say, whilst I'm dying to have you back on my show to discuss what a single disc of the White Album would look like, Andy, I've got to have you on my show because you are yet to come on, and you are a current host of Two Legs. I mean, I don't do the whole ex-hosts of Two Legs thing. That's a little bit beneath me, if I'm completely honest.
All right, well,
I took myself out of the game, so I deserve it.
I host a podcast called Paul or Nothing, the place to get all of your Paul all of the time.
Sam, thank you very much for being here. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I honestly, I've had so much fun. I haven't laughed this much in a while. I really haven't.
Right.
Thank you so much.
And I appreciate you having me on your show. And like you said, I don't doubt Andy would do a great job, guesting with you on your show, and Dylan as well. David, I kind of question that, but
yeah.
Can I mention something before I go?
Well, I was just gonna say you're next in line, so take it away.
Very appreciative that Andy took this over because I felt like I had all I had to say, and I think Tom wanted this to be what it became, and I'm super happy. And you are with the superstars based on your profile with Talk More Talk. Andy has added a whole new level, and the editing, I'm so thankful not to be doing that anymore. I felt like I kind of hit the wall at the end, and I was going to help you take it to the next level to what you want to do. I'm glad you took over the brand Two Legs and kept it going, and super appreciated during this time that we need something like this, and couldn't be more happy for you guys. So keep it going for as long as you guys can.
Thank you.
Appreciate
that. Yeah. As I said, it was a great honor starting this show with you. I couldn't have done this show without you. As I told you many times, and I'm very fortunate that Andy was able to jump on, like you said, and to continue this and to
We
make
love
this.
you, Andy.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you.
Exactly, and make this more of what I was, looking forward to, because you're such a shy individual and you want to do the show in your pajamas, so you don't want anybody to see it.
I thought you were going to say, Tom, what have you been doing in your time off? I've just been sleeping and the wife been taking pictures.
Exactly. Yes. I get all the time, almost, at least once a week.
Daily.
I'll get a text from David's wife with him asleep or on the couch at like 7 o'clock in the evening. Anyways, it's an inside joke. I don't expect you guys to understand that. But anyways, David, thank you for being here and everything that you do. Andy, anything you want to talk about?
Not much. We're just going to keep plugging along and just, cranking out the 2 legs. So thanks for the support. Thanks for all the feedback on our pages and stuff. It's been great. It's been a great ride, and 7 or 8 months now probably of doing this. So
yeah.
We're
looking at what we're almost at. We're like in the 20s of episodes we've done together. So
yeah,
21
now.
Moving right along. We're gonna we'll probably have David back for a 100th episode or something like that.
Which will be like next week, right?
Yeah.
You guys are cranking them out. This might be episode 90 right now.
Yeah, exactly. So, but everybody, thank you very much, David, Andy, Dylan, Sam. You guys are great. This community is just a lot better with you guys in it, and I look forward to future shows with you guys in it. So that being said, 2 Legs, you can find us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at 2 Legs Podcast. Don't forget to check us out on our YouTube channel, 2 Legs, a Paul McCartney Podcast, where you're going to see all of our lovely faces. And if you don't mind, please subscribe to that. We would really appreciate it. In the future, I'm going to, or I should say, Andy and I, but we're going to figure something out where we're going to do a 200 subscribers contest to get more subscribers on our YouTube channel. And but that's coming up later in the year. However, like I said earlier, email us at 2legspodcast@gmail.com. And again, thank you everybody for listening. I know some of you have been having a hard time downloading the show. We hear you. I know some people are not having a hard time, so we're just trying to figure that out and what the reasons could be for that. So stick with it. If they're having a hard time, keep trying. We appreciate that. But we know, we're aware. So for Andy, for David, Dylan, Sam, I'm Tom, and as always, everybody have a great day and a beautiful night. Take care.
Listening to 2 Legs, a Paul McCartney podcast, hosted by Tom Hunyadi and Andy Nichols, with musical contributions by Dylan